Okay, there we go. On tonight, sorry, my studio's falling apart on me.
Were we live that whole time?
We were live the whole time. On tonight's Instant Reaction Show, presented by Modelo, we unveil the college football playoff rankings, the newest college football playoff rankings, and we see who is number one, probably still Ohio State. But could Texas A&M move up? We talked about it with Billy Lucci on today's show. Perhaps this is the week the Aggies make the move because Indiana struggled with Penn State. Also, where does BYU drop? Where does Texas Tech rise? We'll find out now on our CFP Rankings Instant Reaction Show. All right, our CFP Ranking Show is brought to you by Modelo. Crack a Modelo anytime if you're watching rankings, if you are getting ready for a game, if you are tailgating. In fact, we're going to be looking for full-time fans in Athens before Texas plays at Georgia on Saturday. So kickoff means it's time for Modelo. Rankings means it's time for Modelo. It's always time for Modelo if you're a full-time fan. Let's hit it. Welcome to a special edition of Andy and Ari on 3, presented by Modelo and BetMGM. It is a rankings night. It is Tuesday in November. That means Maction, and that means college football playoff rankings. And Ari, I just accidentally clicked on YouTube TV out of habit.
Well, I'll do you one better. I went to get my iPad to play it, and it's at the Dallas Love Field Airport. I left it on the airplane, and I found out 5 minutes ago. So,
oh no!
Live here on the phone.
Oh no!
Here on my Hulu app, and I have us covered. But I will have to recover my iPad tomorrow. Andy, I have been thinking about tonight a lot today.
Okay,
and I'm wondering, because there weren't any earth-shattering losses or upsets on Saturday. The ACC, that said, did explode, but I'm very curious to see if we're going to see a very similar ranking with the teams that lost just down, as Cincinnati is at 25 and South Florida's at 24, or if their eye test, they're going to be more reactionary to the eye test than previous ones are and are going to move teams around based on how they looked on Saturday. So I guess we'll see right now, but we're already started here. South Florida's the first G5 team in the rankings this year at number 24.
That's right. And big game for the Bulls this week. They're at Navy. So the logjam atop the American Conference is pretty thick, and it's up to somebody to break it. And that is USF. Actually, even though they lost to Memphis, USF feels like they have the best shot here.
Yeah, they seem like the most
at number 23, by the way. Oh, by the way, in case you're wondering, my ESPN app that I was signed in on, signed me out.
So what are you doing? Okay, so I
have it up on my iPad. My TV, though, it's got a QR code for me. ESPN, if you're going to charge people for this, if you're going to hold YouTube TV hostage, make your app work. If I'm already signed in on my TV, don't make me sign in again. Pittsburgh at number 22.
And their game does not matter this week, so we don't have to talk about them.
Oh, yeah. Iowa number 21. Back to Pitt. Iowa's number 21, but get back to Pitt. In case you missed Monday on the internet or Tuesday's show on our show, Pat Narduzzi said he doesn't care if they lose 100-0 to Notre Dame, because it's not an ACC game.
As long as they win out. But yeah. I do think Iowa here at number 21 is interesting, Andy, because there's going to be some teams in the Big Ten that are relying on them. USC, for instance, playing a number 21 team. That's a team that's trying to, really get into things.
But what if USC beats them? Does that knock them out of the top 25?
I think that there's a certain point where if everybody using them as a quality win, it's no longer a quality win. But I think if they lose again, they might drop out.
That's your problem.
Number 20.
So that is Louisville dropped 5 spots after its loss on Saturday night. And that was, that we were wondering, okay, where's Virginia going to drop? Where's Louisville going to drop? And the answer is 5 spots each. Virginia is number 19. So they were right together before, and they're right together again, but 5 spots lower.
And somebody was antagonizing me in the chat before we started about, are you ready for Louisville to be ranked behind Miami? And I just want people to understand, too, that that's a completely different thing because they have the same record now, and Miami has a top 10 win to cancel it out. So, there's
Miami, Louisville, and Notre Dame are all kind of in that same boat, and you can decide how you want to order them. And the committee's decided they're going to order them Notre Dame, Miami, and Louisville. So
Miami beat Notre Dame, but also has a top 10 win that Notre Dame doesn't have, which is why I was upset. So like now it's Michigan 18, USC 17.
Both of those teams still alive for the college football playoff.
Yes. It will be interesting.
Are those the two lowest potential at-larges?
I think so. What's going to be interesting is when USC, Michigan, and Oregon are battling out for two of the final two spots. I think the Big Ten will get 4 as Georgia Tech checks in at number 16. And I think it's going to be between those 3 to take the last 2 spots. But I think that 2 of them will make it. Potentially. I don't know. Maybe that's not guaranteed.
I think if you get to 10-2 in the SEC or the Big Ten, you're going to be in.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's going to be enough.
The question is, will there be 4 10-2 teams in the Big Ten? That's the thing.
So Miami jumps up to 15 as a result of those ACC teams losing.
Mm-hmm.
And now they are more in striking distance, which is what you said. So the possibility of an at-large Miami. Now, what would really help Miami is they're going to have to beat Pitt, obviously. But what if Pitt beat Notre Dame?
I actually have been thinking about this. I think that Miami should want Notre Dame to beat everybody by 50 because the most important chess piece,
because it'll pull them up.
Miami got 10-2 last year and was left out because they didn't have any quality wins. And I think the thing that most people got obsessed with in last week's discussion is that they thought that I was saying that because they only beat Notre Dame head-to-head that they should be ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just about head-to-head. It's about the quality win that they possess. They need that win to continue to be quality. I think that Miami at 10-2 will get into the playoff field. I think BetMGM has them at 7-1, 7 or 7.5 to 1 to make the field. I think that's a really good bet if you think they're going to win their final 3 games. And I think both will get it. So Vanderbilt's number 14, Andy, and Utah at number 13. And I would like.
What do we think at Utah at 13? Because Utah's kind of landlocked here. Like,
yeah.
They need a lot of stuff to happen to make the Big 12 title game because they've lost to Texas Tech and they've lost to BYU.
It feels like the committee just doesn't like Miami because I'd love to know, resume wise, why the 2 teams ranked directly in front of them are ranked ahead of them.
Well, like Vandy will be interesting. I think Vandy, if they win out, will make the playoff. So they've got to play Tennessee. They've got Kentucky this week, which, by the way, Kentucky looked as good as it's looked all year against Florida last week. And then they've got Tennessee. So,
but how
we'll find.
Vanderbilt, it plays in a tougher conference. There's no question. I'm not going to go down that road. Their 2 losses are better than Miami's 2 losses, but they do not claim any real huge wins. They don't have a single top 25 win. So what's their claim? It feels like the committee,
right? Because Missouri's kind of in that same boat as Iowa. Like if everybody claims you as a quality win, are you a quality win?
Yeah.
BYU at 12, Oklahoma at 11. So BYU drops 5 with the loss to Texas Tech. Oklahoma up 1 after the reshuffle.
Yeah, I just, again, it feels like the committee is more concerned with who you lost to than who you beat for the first time in a while. Am I like getting that? Is that a weird vibe, or is like it just usually who you beat really kind of carried the weight there, and it doesn't seem like it's doing it in these rankings. So
I'm telling you, if we go to FPI, if we go to the FPI resume page, or if we go to any of these like SP Plus type things, we're gonna find, I think, these teams in a similar order here. Texas at 10. So
Horns back in the top 10, baby, right in time for their big trip.
They'll either jump to 5 this week, or they'll fall out and they'll be done.
Yep,
that's it. They're going to Georgia. If they beat Georgia, they're probably sitting, like I said, at number 5 next week. If they lose to Georgia, they probably won't drop that much, but they're just not coming back up.
Do you think BYU is too high?
I don't think it matters because I think if BYU beats TCU, beats Cincinnati, goes on to the Big 12 championship, and we'll see what happens when they play Texas Tech again. They're not going to make the playoff if they get their doors blown off by Texas Tech again.
Yeah.
Notre Dame at 9. Notre Dame goes up 1. Oregon up 1 to 8.
Mm-hmm. Was there any intrigue left now, or are we waiting to see if they?
I guess only Texas. Where Texas A&M and Indiana are, I think.
Yeah. Does anything in the rankings stand out to you as annoying? Because I'm not fired up this week. Ole Miss dropped.
No, I'm not. I'm not super fired up. And look, we said this. This doesn't always fire you up. Like sometimes the results don't. Okay, Texas Tech moves up 2-6. I think that's where I had Texas Tech in the projection. So I'm feeling pretty good about my projection.
They hopped over them. A Big 12 team hopped over a SEC team that won.
Yeah,
has that ever happened?
Not that I can remember.
I mean, I don't remember the week-to-week movings of the playoff for the last 10 years, but that's a Brett Yormark just fist pumped.
Yeah, I think this is tracking pretty much exactly with the projection I did on Saturday night.
Maybe it's just because you're him. I don't know.
I don't think so. What I wrote in the introduction to that is I'm going to take the committee's advice instead of it being here's what I think it should be or here's how I think they should vote. I'm just going to take what they showed me last week and extrapolate. And so
Georgia number 5.
Yep, Georgia's number 5. So I assume Alabama will be 4, and then we'll just see if Alabama's 4. So either Texas A&M will be 3 or Indiana will be 3. That's really the only kind of pivot point there is left. And they're talking. Texas A&M's 3, so there will be no changes. Indiana will be 2. Ohio State will be 1.
That'd be cool if they just flip them again. Number 1 and number 2.
It would be.
But, A&M, I think that we had a really good discussion with Billy Lucci on Tuesday's show about it. I think that you could make a claim that A&M has a shot or has a resume or at least an argument to be number one or even number 2. Again, really all they're trying to do is get that first round bye in the playoff, and they have enough good teams left and a tough enough path where they control their own destiny to achieving that one goal. So, I don't want to get all. I just think I'm good. I'm happy to see that Indiana is number 2 because I don't want a committee that is reactionary to every single week's games when it's supposed to be about the whole picture. I want a committee that's mature. I don't want them to freak out on Twitter like we do. I don't want them to freak out at certain results and go, hey, this or that. I want them to remain focused on the whole picture. And if you thought that Indiana was better or earned the number 2 spot a week ago, I'm not sure that winning a thrilling game on the road at State College, even if it wasn't against a team that's playing that well, does anything to change your mind on that. So, reactionary is unpredictable, I think. Yeah,
I like that you want the committee to be more mature than us.
I do.
That's a very fair way to look at it.
There has to be adults in the room, and I'm not the adult in the room. Let's be honest. I don't think you are. You're more adultish.
No, definitely not.
I just...
So the only difference between this and my projection is they have South Florida ranked and have South Florida. I put Tulane at 12, projecting Tulane to be the American champ. So you would get the games you would get with this ranking because they're projecting USF to be the American champ here. You get USF at Georgia in the first round. You would get Notre Dame at Oregon in the first round. Woo, that'd be spicy. You would get Texas at Ole Miss, Miami at Texas Tech. And that's interesting. Because they're projecting Miami as the ACC champ here as the highest ranked ACC. So let's talk about that because Miami is actually not in a great position to make the ACC title game. That doesn't mean they can't, but Georgia Tech, Virginia, Pittsburgh, SMU, Duke, all ahead of them in the ACC standings because they all only have one conference loss. And it is entirely possible that we end up with 2 one-loss in the ACC teams playing for the ACC title and Miami shut out.
The bracket that they present to you on television should mirror the reality of it, and Miami is not in their field right now. It's like they made a decision to punish them, and they're now presenting a bracket that would show them as, even though they're, what, I looked it up today. BetMGM has Miami is a 10-1 dog to win the ACC this year. So think that who's
the favorite? I'm going to my BetMGM app right now. I want to see the favorite. I don't
remember who the
I'm guessing it's Georgia Tech.
It's got to be Georgia Tech because they've got the best record and in
and the cleanest path. No, they still have to. They play Pittsburgh next week at home, and then they play Georgia. So the thing is, Georgia, they can lose to Georgia. That, as Pat Narduzzi would say, does not affect them in the ACC race.
Yeah, And of course, the odds also take into account who you have left on your schedule. So if you have a tough path of it, then you're going to have a tougher, or a better, more advantageous number.
Okay, so yes, Georgia Tech is your favorite at plus 200. The second favorite, the only one really close to Georgia Tech, is Duke at plus 275. Shall we have a conversation about the Blue Devils?
Yeah, we had that conversation on Saturday. We can do it again. My actual overall question to you is, do you think that either the Big 12 or the ACC should be a two-big league, or do you think they should both be one-bid leagues?
Well, the ACC should probably be a one-bid league. The thing is, it's going to be weird how the bid comes to be, because you talked about Miami sitting there and hoping Notre Dame keeps winning, which we think Notre Dame will keep winning. Notre Dame's going to be favored in all of its other games. If they get past Pitt, they're playing Syracuse and Stanford. They're not losing either of those games. So Notre Dame is probably going 10-2. That will help Miami, we would think, draw Miami up. Miami may not make the ACC title game, but let me ask you this, Ari.
I'm ready to make a declaration, so ask it to me.
If Duke is 8-4 and then wins the ACC championship game and then is 9-4, will Duke be ranked ahead of the American champ and a potential 12-1 James Madison Sunbelt champ?
I still think I would go, if I had to guess, I don't know, I would still guess the ACC champ would get in.
I think the American champ would be ranked higher than the ACC champ for sure in that scenario.
Yeah. And the ACC champ, goes without saying, they would certainly not be,
especially if the American champ is Tulane, which beat Duke head-to-head.
What I think might be interesting in that scenario, and I believe this wholeheartedly, I think if Miami finishes the season 10-2, they will find a way into the playoff.
But that's what I was getting at. Yeah. That's what I was getting at. That might be the way the ACC is a two-bid league. I think the ACC would love having two teams in. I think they would rather it be that Georgia Tech just wins out and is in there and is an unassailable. Because the thing is, like, let's say Georgia Tech wins all of its remaining games in the regular season. Georgia Tech could probably lose the ACC championship game and get in.
If Georgia Tech wins out, including beat Georgia, they might get a bye. Like, Georgia Tech is situated. Once you beat Georgia, you become a different team. So, like, Georgia is like the...
Well, we say this now. Georgia's playing Texas this weekend. Like, Georgia's got to beat Texas for that win to matter as much.
I think...
And for that not to be an elimination game for Georgia.
I think that logos are good for aura. And even if Georgia were to lose to Texas, I think that the committee would take an ACC team more seriously, having beaten them, regardless of whether they're 10-2 or 11-1. Now, here's the question that I have back to you, and I don't know if it even remains to be Duke, but let's say Georgia Tech, gets to the ACC championship game and they play Duke and Duke wins it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then Miami finishes 10-2. Would this be the first time in playoff history? It would have to be, because it wouldn't have never happened in the 4-team field where a team that did not win their power conference was ranked higher than the champion in the playoff seeding.
No. It happened in the 4-team playoff.
When did it happen?
2016. 2016, Ohio State over Penn State.
I should have known that. I was covering the team that did it.
Yes.
Yeah. No, well, yeah. The non-champ went in, and the champ didn't even get in at all. So that would be, yeah. So, again, Ari, are you going to cry that Louisville is ranked below Miami? No, because if you think that Louisville being ranked behind Miami mirrors the conversation that we had about Miami and Notre Dame last week, you were not listening.
See, but I'm with Biggs on this. This is a similar situation. Now, you're saying Miami has a better best win than Louisville.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's much better, because Louisville's best win is Miami.
Yeah.
And they're not that far apart.
And I actually think that, like, if Louisville were ranked ahead, I would be fine with that. The thing that bothered me last week was that Miami had a top 10 win and a head-to-head win over a team that were 8 spots behind.
Yes, I agree. And I had the same problem as you.
But I don't think that's the same thing that's happening here.
But you have an iron triangle here.
Yeah.
And you've got to rank one ahead of one and the other ahead of the other. And so this is the decision they've made, and I'm okay with that. Because if you did who do you think would be favored against all these other teams,
mm-hmm.
you'd have Notre Dame favored against more of them.
The college football playoff stuff, as you keep going into the weeks, gets more and more complicated because context expands and results expand. But if your takeaway from last week's discussion about Miami was they beat them head to head and the discussion should be over, that's not at all what anybody.
No, it has to be all other things equal, and it kind of was all other things equal last week. It's not all other things equal now, and it's not all other things equal with Miami and Louisville. So
right, but if it came down,
I don't think I'd have them. But again, I don't think I'd have them that far apart.
But for those who want me consistent, let me be consistent. If Louisville is 10-2 and Miami is 10-2 at the end of the year, and there's one spot left for one of those teams, I would pick the team that won the game.
Yeah.
I still feel the same way. Yeah.
Nick in the chat says if Miami gets into a tier where they're being compared directly with Notre Dame, which is a good point because of the way they do the seeding, is they kind of go in groups of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then they move on to the next group, and they'll start with like a group of 6. They'll narrow it to 3, and they'll put those 3 in order. And then they'll take the 3 that they kicked out, add another 3 in, and then figure out who the top 3 of that are.
This is kind of what I was trying to project last week, because if you look at Oklahoma and Texas, those are the Hurricanes' enemies. You want Oklahoma and Texas both to lose this week when they're playing big games.
You want them out, yeah.
You want Alabama to beat Oklahoma, and you want Texas to lose at Georgia, because then those two teams are completely out of the picture. And then I think that the room for Miami to improve and get closer and closer to Notre Dame is much higher, because the teams between 10 and 15 are more likely to lose than the teams that are currently ahead of Notre Dame. So Notre Dame might still get up to 7 or 6, but Miami has a chance of getting to 8 and 9 much easier. Like they can move up 6 spots easier than Notre Dame can move up 3. So
the ACC gets real clean, by the way, if Georgia beats Texas and Alabama beats Oklahoma. Because then you're really just watching Vanderbilt at that point.
Yeah. But if Texas and Oklahoma win these games, then you want to talk about SEC heavy field.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably be the path potentially for 5 SEC teams to make 12 spots.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. So Ole Miss, Georgia, A&M, Bama, Texas, and OU. Who would be out in that?
Yeah, because then we're just going to have to look at final resumes, and you're splitting hairs.
Or is it possible for them to get 6?
A lot would have to happen in the other leagues.
Okay,
you'd have to have absolute disasters all over the place.
Yeah, I would have a hard time believing that a 10-2. Now Texas and A&M play each other, so like you would maybe wind up with 9-3, and maybe one of those teams would be out. But for the most part, especially if the committee,
can we agree that A&M is in if they beat South Carolina this week?
Yeah, A&M's like projected their percentage projection of making the playoff, I think, is like 99.7%.
Right, because the thing is, they're going to go 10-2 even if they lose to South Carolina, because they play Samford between South Carolina and Texas.
Yeah, I think so, once they beat Samford, they're in. Like it's over.
But once they beat South Carolina, they're in. And they're heavy favorites against South Carolina this week.
Yeah, they're 20-point favorites, 19.5-point favorites, BetMGM. So, like, yeah, though they're in, I think Alabama's probably comfortably in. You know, do they have 3 games or 2 games left? It's hard to remember.
They have Oklahoma, and they also have to play Auburn. So the Auburn game is going to be tricky. It's at Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
The Auburn offense looked better against Vanderbilt. So that could possibly be a challenge for Alabama. But if they get through the Oklahoma game, they should feel very comfortable.
Yeah. So I think there's only 3 teams that are basically punched their tickets. And 4 actually. I think Ole Miss has also punched their ticket.
Yeah. Now Ole Miss has Florida. Remember, Ole Miss has an open date between Florida and Mississippi State. Ole Miss has played 10 games. They're 9-1. So if they beat Florida this weekend, they are in. Like, you can say whatever you want, resume, whatever. I'm telling you right now, they're going to be in.
This is a different committee. They're going to operate differently. We don't know what it's going to look like at the end, Andy. But it'll be very interesting to see if they reward the conference championship game loser in the ways that they did before. Because if you have 3 lost teams getting into the playoff because their third loss is the conference championship game, then you're going to have 10-2 teams in power conferences, cough Big Ten.
Well, here's the thing, because I think, remember, 2 conference championship games are different than the other ones. We're talking about rewarding the loser of a conference championship game. We're really talking about the Big Ten and the SEC. Now, they did it with the ACC last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if they had a 10-2 or SEC or Big Ten team sitting out there that they could have put in instead of SMU, they would have. So
yeah, that's interesting. Because there was no 10-2 team. They were quibbling over South Carolina and Bama a year ago.
Right. So if like a 10-2 USC or a 10-2 Vandy is sitting there, then there would probably be no debate there. Now, the thing about the Big Ten championship game and the SEC championship game, we'll see. This week's results in the SEC will go a long way toward determining that. If Georgia and Alabama win this week, if Georgia beats Texas, Alabama beats Oklahoma, more likely than not, the SEC championship game will be between teams that have either 0 or 1 loss.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Alabama is tricky because they have a non-conference loss and they're undefeated in conference play. But between, like, if Georgia beats Texas, if Alabama beats Oklahoma, more than likely you're going to be dealing with a 1-loss team playing against either a 1-loss Ole Miss or 1-loss or undefeated A&M.
And I haven't even talked about Vandy, but Vandy could get to 10-2 and with a win at Tennessee at the end of the year. And
Kentucky and Tennessee is who they got left. So that's
Vandy. Like, I wonder if there will actually be. I mean, we've been basically saying that if you're in the SEC and Big Ten and you get the 10 wins, you're safe. And like, there's a lot of teams and not enough spots.
Well, the reason I say that is because we do this every year where we assume going into these last 3 weeks that it's going to be chalk. It's never chalk.
Yeah.
The craziest results tend to happen these next few weeks. Like, not this week, but next week is the one we always thought was super boring because that's when the SEC teams would play the FCS teams, which they're not really doing that much. A&M has Samford, but most of them have to play other SEC teams. It is highly likely that some of these teams that we assume are completely unassailable and can't be touched are going to take losses in the next few weeks.
Yep.
So that's why I'm saying I don't think it'll be a problem if you are 10-2 in the SEC or the Big Ten that you will get in, because I don't think there's going to be a glut.
Yeah. And usually when there's a glut, it's a 9-3 glut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Vandy, like, I would feel pretty good. Like, just win these 2 games and you're probably getting in.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Wild times.
Can I go back in time
and clip that?
Even like 5 years, 2 years, even 2 years. You go back in time 2 years and say we're going to be talking about Vanderbilt as a potential playoff team in November 2025?
I think that Vanderbilt and Indiana fans are tired of hearing people say, if you could clip this and play this to because that's all they hear about their team. But like, yeah, it's crazy.
But it is mind-boggling because
you said it. I'm like, yeah, Andy, just say that again.
Yeah. Because 2 years ago, we could have never imagined it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just trying to think, like, if you look now between teams 15 and 20, you have a lot of teams that haven't really been a ton. Now, Georgia Tech, the ACC has taken a lot of the, bandwidth that we've talked about. But, like, I'm looking at SC and Michigan are 2 teams that have kind of been sailing in the dark, and we haven't been speaking about them a lot, who might be a 2 weeks or 2 wins away from being right in the thick of this bracket.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's the thing. Like, the thing about USC and Michigan is there's no case to be made. If they win and they are 10-2, like if they win out and they're 10-2, they deserve to be in. Yeah. USC and Michigan, both of them. The odds of them doing it are slim, because it's a hard schedule. Like, USC has to play Iowa this week at home. They're at Oregon, and then they play UCLA. They're more than likely going to take another loss. If they get through that undefeated, they deserve to be in. Michigan, they have Ohio State at the end. The road between now and then is not as difficult. They've got Northwestern and Maryland. The Northwestern game's at Wrigley. Maryland's on the road. And then they play Ohio State.
Yeah. What I think will be interesting is if those 2 things happen and the parlay or the future of that would be pretty crazy odds. Like if USC and Michigan both went out.
Oh yeah, and that's the
Oregon's
thing.
out.
I don't think it's likely at all. I don't think it's likely that either of them went out.
Oregon has to beat USC. Oregon has no wins.
Oregon does not have to beat USC because for the reasons that I keep talking about.
Yeah, if you think,
I don't think there's going to be enough competition at 10-2 to knock them out.
Yeah, but then I would also wonder too if you would get into a situation where a 9-3 team with a head-to-head win and better resume. I mean, we were arguing about this last year.
We might be again, because now, unfortunately, you can't grade intent. Oregon tried to schedule a good non-conference opponent. Like when they scheduled Oklahoma State, that was a really good non-conference opponent.
Yeah.
The version that showed up this year stunk.
But do you think that a team with one more loss than a team ranked ahead of it, but 2 quality wins when the team in front of it doesn't have any, the
one with the quality wins is probably going to go.
So I'm very curious to see this year if there are power conference teams that reach 10 wins who are left out in favor of teams that won 9 games, which would then encourage in the scheduling thing and also show how insane it was if you were an AD or a person of power who said we're not scheduling good games anymore. Like, I think that the quality games that you play, I don't want to hear this discussion anymore of why did we play that game? Well, I think there's going to be some teams this year who find out that's why they played that really hard game at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm looking at the
game.
Yeah. What's that?
You don't think that Miami's thankful that they played that game at the beginning of the year?
Oh, I think they're very thankful.
Out if they didn't have that game on their resume.
So I'm looking at the FPI resume page. FPI is one of ESPN's made up stats, proprietary formula. They don't tell you how they do it, and it's kind of a predictive one that says very similar to what the people in Vegas use to set the line. Interestingly enough, because everybody thinks ESPN is in the bag for the SEC and would do anything to bash the Big Ten, which doesn't take any money from ESPN. Would you like to guess who the number 1, number 2, and number 3 teams in the FPI are right now?
Yeah. Ohio State 1.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama 2.
Nope.
Is Alabama 3?
Nope.
What is this bullshit formula made of?
Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Oregon 3, Alabama 4.
What are the ingredients of FPI, though?
Notre Dame 5. They don't tell you. But then you go to the resume page, which I know the committee uses because they continually talk about strength of record. And strength of record is one of the metrics on the resume page. Now, strength of record this is what the average, they look at what the average top 25 team would do against your schedule and how you perform relative to that. So in strength of record, Texas A&M is number 1, Indiana is number 2, Ohio State is number 3, Alabama 4, Georgia 5, Ole Miss 6, Oregon 7. This is a long way of saying the stats it seems that the committee is valuing this year like Oregon better than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon's strength of schedule in this metric is 24.
Yeah. Yeah. No outrage, though, Andy. No outrage this week.
Not really.
Usually when we're doing this, I'm thinking I'm going to run to my computer and go rage out a column, and I don't really know if I have one today.
No, I don't think there's any rage here. I think for me, it's just excitement over what the next 3 weeks are going to bring, because there will be some just batshit crazy results, because there always are at this time of the season that are going to really shake this all up. Like it's a bad habit of ours to assume chalk. And that's why I've been playing around with the tiebreaker simulator. And I cannot recommend MRed's tiebreaker simulator enough. I tweeted out the link earlier tonight on my Twitter if you want to find it. This person, Ari, also has a Hallmark movie bingo card generator. It's delightful.
Okay.
Delightful. But even better, they've got all the power conference tiebreaker generators with every game that's left, and you can decide who you think is going to win those games, and it will spit out exactly what the conference standings are at the end. And it's wild. Like I said on Saturday night, okay, if you're watching on the YouTube stream, Producer River has put the web address up. It's bball.notnothing.net. It is so fun because you can pick, like, I didn't realize until I started playing around in the Big 12 one how close Arizona State is to still being in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
How likely it is that Arizona State wins out and is 7-2 in Big 12 play and has a really good chance of winning a tiebreaker.
I didn't put Arizona State on my list of teams still alive to make the playoffs, so you're scaring me.
I know. Well, I mean, look, Jeff Sims is starting at quarterback. They don't have Sam Levitt anymore. It is the Big 12. They are starting their backup QB. They could always lose at any time. So it's not a guarantee. But remember, Cincinnati and BYU play. So one of them is taking a second conference loss. TCU plays BYU this week. TCU, even though they haven't had the season they want, is dangerous.
I don't know.
Utah is sitting there with 2 losses.
The Big 12 has just kind of become uninteresting to me because it's a one big league and I know who the bid's going to.
You think you do, but
it's funny. I was actually thinking about this and I'm going to tweet it soon, but I was thinking about this in the car today, Andy. I was like, everybody always is like, so-and-so would do this or so-and-so would do that. If Notre Dame played the number 14, they'd be favored. I saw in the chat. And do you know what Vegas loves? When the public overwhelmingly bets on a certain team. And you want to know why the public overwhelmingly bets on teams and is wrong all the time? Purely eye test.
Well, Producer River with a really interesting Big 12 point.
Yeah.
He said the Big 12 needs Baron Morton to get healthy. Yeah. Baron Morton, Texas Tech starting quarterback, has been playing injured. Remember, the game they lost against Arizona State, he didn't play. Will Hammond played. Will Hammond's their backup. Will Hammond is out for the season.
But
their third string guy, Mitch Griffiths, is now the backup.
Really, though, try to internalize that if you're listening, though. The general public bets solely with their eyes. And the general public, when they're heavy on a side based on their perception of their eyes, is largely wrong.
Yes. Yep.
So, anyway.
This is going to be so much fun, Ari. It really is. I cannot wait because we're going to get to see 2 games in the SEC this weekend between teams we all thought could make the playoff at the beginning of the year. And there's a good chance that 2 of them will be out at the end, or all 4 are still in, which makes it even more interesting.
Yep. So sexy looking bracket. And I love that there are teams in there that probably won't be in there at those spots based on these projections. But hey, that's what we're doing right now, and we'll help you break it down. I don't know, man. I think we covered everything. Did I miss anything?
No, I think we got it. And appreciate you guys coming out. If you're new, if you haven't seen us before, we do a show every day, 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's Monday through Thursday during the football season. And then we have a post-game show on Saturday nights, 11:30 p.m. Eastern after all the games are over. We wrap them all up. Also, if there's huge breaking news, anytime we pop on live and we mix it up with you guys in the chat. Thanks so much. Please subscribe to the On3 Sports YouTube page. You can also find me at Andy Staples on Twitter. You can find at Ari Wasserman on Twitter, Andy_Staples, and at Ari Wasserman on Instagram. This is going to be a fun ride the rest of the way. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Thanks for being here, everybody.